It's time to go. That's what Moses said to the Israelites as they were getting ready to leave Egypt, and it's what they had to grapple with in their own hearts. In some ways confronted with someone saying the time is now, and having to come to that realization that after 400 years of slavery, they were done with this oppression and they needed to move. They needed to change. They needed to walk out of that difficult environment. You know, we kind of grapple with something similar as we begin the season of Lent. You know, the church says the time is now. It's time to go. And we kind of have to come to the realization for ourselves that, yes, I'm tired of living in the effects of sin. I'm tired of, living under the enemy's influence. It is time to go. And it really is this beautiful season for us. And even from the beginning, just that realization, that time of judgment for ourselves, that it's time to go. You know, our journey begins with Ash Wednesday, and it is a season of change for us as we follow in the Lord's footsteps. And, it's not an easy time. It really isn't. I mean, Lent is a difficult journey, but it's what we're called to because it's what we need. The Lord invites us to look within ourselves and realize that it is time to go. It is time to leave behind all these things that prevent us from leaving space for the Lord in our hearts, that prevent us from living as those sons and daughters of the Lord that He has called us to be. So in this season of change, the church holds up these age-old practices of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And in this difficult season, we start off trying to find ways out of those three practices. How often have you said to yourself or heard, you don't really have to give anything up, you can just do something extra? It's like, on the surface, maybe that's ultimately true, but the church holds these practices up because they work. They bring about the change that our hearts really desire. And yes, they're hard. Fasting, almsgiving, and prayer are often hard. You know what else was hard? The Passion. You know what else was hard? Jesus laying down His life for us. So Lent, the season of change, is difficult. So is the Passion, so are the practices, and ultimately, it's because Jesus' passion wasn't just to, preserve us from the suffering and the pain we undergo, but it's really so that it might be transformed into the life that God has called us to. So He wants the pain that we experience in this life ultimately to lead to the consolation of being united with Him. He wants the suffering we experience to lead to His glory within us. And He wants our death ultimately to lead to His life welling up within us transformed and glorified and living forever with Him in the fullness of life. So it isn't so much to run away from the suffering, but entering through it, going to the other side. This season, this most beautifully difficult season, isn't so much about avoiding the pain of the cross, but that we might be transformed and glorified and experience the fullness of His life on the other side of the cross.